Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright people, a bit of interesting news is being reported today. So obviously we know Eddie Hearn. He was on the Zone Boxing show last week and he was talking about Anthony Joshua, his comeback. Obviously he wants to have Joshua fight 3 times this year. He spoke about Wilder or Fury at the end of the year, sometime in the autumn. He spoke about Dylan White in the summertime. But then he said that AJ will come back in April against a top 15 opponent. Now, he didn't really hint as to who that might be. You know, we obviously looked at some of the guys in the top 15. I kind of was looking at it, was like, well, really, Otto Verlaine, if you want a guy coming in off the back of a couple of wins, if you wanted an easy touch, which I think Joshua needs, truth be told, I would look at maybe a Luis Ortiz or someone like that, potentially. I know they're both southpaws. But Adam Cattrall was on Fight Disciples, and I'm seeing IFL break this news as well. It's being reported that Anthony Joshua's reported comeback opponent will be 22-0 Australian heavyweight Dempsey McKean. Now, Dempsey McKean, I believe I think actually his last fight was on the Zone, if I'm not very much mistaken. That was actually on the undercard of Liam Paro versus Brooke Javis. Remember that fight? There was a big knockout in the first round. I think he's fought on other DAZN cards as well. Yeah, he did. He fought on Lawrence Okoye's undercard, actually. That was in the O2 February last year. Okoye's last fight with Hearn. He fought Bracamonte on that card. Went the distance with Bracamonte. You know, some guys go the distance with him, some guys get stopped. Now, I have seen Dempsey McKean a few times. I have to say, as I said, he's called the Tower. He's 6'6", a southpaw. So another southpaw. Interesting. I would have thought they would have given Joshua... well, I suppose like the two names I said were both southpaws, but I kind of thought they might look down the orthodox road just because he's been fighting southpaws his last 2 fights. But I've seen Dempsey McKean a few times, and I have to say I've never really been impressed with him. I really haven't. If you were looking at southpaws in the top 10, I would say that obviously Alexander Usyk is the best out of them, but I would actually say Otto Verlaine, personally, just from my eye, is more impressive than Dempsey McKean. Now, in terms of punching power, again, 22 wins but only 14 knockouts. It's a 63% knockout ratio. Now, obviously, punching power and knockout ratio, they're not always one and the same. You know, you could have people who are tremendous punchers. Darnell Booth comes to mind. Tremendous puncher, but very limited, lacks defense. But ask Andre Ward, you know, does he hit hard? He does. Ask Adonis Stevenson, does he hit hard? He'll tell you he hits plenty hard. So, you know, knockout ratio, it's not always a rough guide to how hard he hits, but you would say he's probably not a devastating puncher just based upon his record. If I look at it here, alright, so he's been, look at the weights here, 251, 246, so 6'6", in the 240s, 250s. I'd say a decent size heavyweight. It was 240 here against Jonathan Rice, and he fought him in March 2020. Stopped Jonathan Rice in the 10th round. Looking by the scorecards, it was a nip and tuck affair, you know, 87-84, 87-84, 88-83. So Jonathan Rice is a good heavyweight. You know, he's not a world beater, but he's better than his record suggests. And again, just looking here, he beat Anthony Fowler twice. That is not the Anthony Fowler who fights at the middleweight division. It's not him, but he did beat him in back-to-back fights, which is obviously shows that they couldn't find opponents, because he literally fought him in December 2015, fought him again in March of 2016. He was 228 in that fight, so not the biggest heavyweight. Like, actually, he turned pro in October 2014. So, turned pro, how long would that be? About 8 years ago. And he was only 215. So, not a big guy, but he's obviously packed the muscle and packed the size on as he's gone through his career. You know, he is only 32, so he would have been probably about 24 times, so you would expect that. But Dempsey McKean, he's listed here, being reported the next opponent for Anthony Joshua to come back with. Now, personally, I would see Dempsey McKean, and I mean this no disrespect, similar to kind of how we looked at Dominic Brazil going into his fight with Anthony Joshua. Undefeated, coming in with not a bad looking record on paper, but was never going to stand a chance against Anthony Joshua. That's how I see Dempsey McKean, truth be told. I've never really been impressed with him. It's just never really impressed me. I think Joshua, I said it once, I'll say it again. I think he needs to come back the right way. I think he needs to. Did he take their time with him? Don't rush him. Don't put him in fights where he might not look good. It might be tricky, might be awkward, or heaven forbid he might lose. You know, I mean, you're trying to rebuild him. So an opponent like this to come back with, you know, I'd say Joshua would win it. Probably win it comfy enough. But Dempsey McKean is undefeated. He may show some knit and grit. We'll need to wait and see. We'll need to see who Joshua is being trained by. Obviously Dylan White in the summer. As I said, I suspect they'll probably try and do that in a stadium somewhere. Eddie Hearn has actually been talking about Dylan White having a run out before then. I even heard him mention Deontay Wilder. I mean, heaven forbid. Deontay Wilder has seemed unwilling to make that fight, but I definitely think that he'd beat Dylan White. Even Dylan White pre-Povetkin, I think he beat him. So we'll need to wait and see. But I suspect they'll do that fight in a stadium somewhere. That's probably what they're looking to do in the summer. Anyway, so this is reportedly the next opponent for Anthony Joshua. We will wait and see for this to be announced. But this is kind of the level you'd expect. I mean, maybe a bit above the level you'd expect. Maybe, depends. Again, I've seen Dempsey McKean a few times. Never stood out to me as being anything other than just a fairly run-of-the-mill heavyweight. No disrespect to him. So yeah, we'll see if this materialises into something, and we'll wait and see who the opponent is that's going to be announced. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. At the end of the day, you know, Joshua's on the comeback trail, and if there's one thing that's always, it's been a pet peeve of mine when I see fighters who go on the comeback trail, and certain fighters could come back against, you know, a B or C tier opponent, and, you know, after about 2 comeback fights they're ready to step back in at world level. Some fighters aren't. But throughout, you know, my time watching boxing, which is a long time now, I've seen fighters, you know, a good example would be David Price. When he's taken L's, you know, certainly when he was fresher, he would have comeback fights and he'd maybe have 1 or 2 and then straight into a big fight or a dangerous fight. And I used to always look and just think, what the hell are you doing? You know, you don't have the confidence to be able to just go straight back in at the deep end. You need to be rehabilitated thoroughly. And I'm talking maybe as much as 6, 7, 8 comeback fights, seriously, before his confidence is to where it should be. He's several times throughout his career, you know, 1, maybe 2 comeback fights. Boom, let's go straight in at the deep end. Oh, knocked out again. Boom. So I hope with Joshua they do it the right way. Talk of Wilder Fury at the end of the year, but we'll see if that materialises or not. We'll wait and see how that goes. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. The opponent reported for Anthony Joshua, your thoughts on Dempsey McKean. Do you think I'm being a bit unfair? Have you looked at him and thought, oh, actually, no, he's better than you give him credit for? Alright, let's see, let's hear. Leave it in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button on the way in and on the way out. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell, help your boy out. I'll talk to you, people. Peace.